Well, it was pretty linear. I mean, basically, we were working with a full band in a live show for the last 2 years, and once we realized that we were going to stick with the band format, it just seemed like the natural thing to do, a full band project. I think, it was really like a challenge at first to figure out how it was going to work with what we were sort of established, a sound for what we were doing, and it was very electronics based. So, but as time went on, it just seemed more and more natural to work with a band and take advantage of what a band has to offer. And we now have like a set 6-piece lineup that has 2 horns. And I think the horns are kind of incorporate a lot of different things. And it's funny because in a rock context, there's like, people kind of go like, oh yeah, are you doing like a jazzy thing? Or are you doing, what, like, but I think there's sort of a long tradition in just like pop music having horn charts in it. And certainly, there are improvisational things you can do with horns that sound great, and R&B things that sound great with horns. So it just seems like a pretty versatile lineup to have the full rhythm section and horns.
The statue got me high, the statue got me high, the monument of granite Santa beaming into my eye. The statue.
Well, the story behind AKA Driver is pretty simple, really. We didn't want to get sued for using the word NyQuil, and kind of discovered that you can sing about anything you want in a song. That's protected speech. That's like your First Amendment in action. Bob Dylan can write a song that says Exxon sucks, but you can't title the song Exxon sucks and then have the title be on a piece of product that's sold in a store, because it's the notion of copyright is that it's something that you lose if you don't protect it. If Exxon or NyQuil or anybody who owns a trademark doesn't actually make a point of protecting their trademark, they lose it. Like aspirin in the turn of the century was a trademarked name for a product. I mean, there was generic aspirin, but somebody actually owned the word aspirin, but because they never made any effort to protect it, they lost their copyright on it. So it's a kind of a double bind that, like, you can't, you're going to get in trouble because they're duty bound to protect their copyright, their trademarked product. So basically, we didn't have to change the words to the song, which was the important part, and I couldn't really think of a better title for the song, so just it seemed like, AKA was probably the appropriate thing, since people know it means also known as.
Constantinople, now it's Istanbul, not Constantinople, been a long time gone. Constantinople, now it turns to light on a moonlit night. Every gal in Constantinople lives in Istanbul, not Constantinople, so if you've a date in Constantinople, she'll be waiting in Istanbul.
Yeah, we tour a lot, it's the past couple of years have involved a lot of road work, and part of that was just to get the band together and really figure out how we were going to work our material in with the live group. So that was beneficial, but I think it's funny because it's like part of it is, there are things that you're willing to do when you're 20 years old that you're not willing to do when you're 30 years old, and even though the ride is infinitely smoother now, and we don't have to sleep on people's floors, and we don't have to drive all night and then do a show too often. It does just seem like kind of still like a sort of a soul-crushing activity. I guess it's like when we were just starting out and everything was a new experience, you're willing to put up with more of it, and it still seems creative, and it allows you to do your job and be involved in this project. Now I feel like to some extent the amount of touring that we're doing is actually getting in the way of the creative side of it. It's like I know that I'm not going to be able to write songs for this number of weeks because I'm just going to be either too exhausted, or my day's going to be filled up with other stuff. So I guess it's, whether you like it or not, you sort of end up, sounding like some, old turd who doesn't like their job, even though they've got the world on a plate. I mean, I feel strange about it. I have mixed emotions about it, because I know that most musicians are working really hard just to have the opportunity to tour. So I feel like kind of selfish for saying like, oh yeah, it's a drag. I don't have a modem. Friends of mine, are on America Online and CompuServe a bunch, and I like sift through the good and bad reviews of what we're doing.
That's what I was going to ask, if you're aware of the news group and how it feels to know that there are thousands of people out there every day.
Well, it doesn't seem like thousands of people. It seems like there's about 24 people who are like very actively, talking about things.
A lot of people read it, though.
Yeah, I guess so. I wish there was more real information on it. We're working with a guy at Electra who's like actually putting articles and things we've written for our information club and other things that have like just actual things to think about, because a lot of it is very fan based rather than like it's not like a library or someplace where you actually get information. It's sort of more like it just seems like blabbing to me. I mean, some of it's critical and interesting, and some things like open your eyes to things that you actually never think about. I mean. And some of it's fair and some of it's not. It can really be like a high school slam book or something at times. There's portions of it that really just seem like kind of pathetic. But it's just another way to get feedback about what you're doing. But I think in our situation, we actually get plenty of feedback. I think if anything, it's probably at this point in our lives, it's probably best to just try to tune out what. I mean, we so don't fit in with what you're supposed to be doing. Whether it's Prince or Pavement. We definitely are not fulfilling our obligation as rock performers, and so I think it's probably better for us to just not even think about those issues.
I want to thank you for putting me back in my snail shell. I want to thank you.
No, we actually worked with a German director, this guy Nico Bayer, who's very German, and it was our first experience with a full-blown language problem. There was like lots of discussions that just kind of went into the air because he didn't speak English that well, and it was definitely like borderline Sprockets kind of deal. But it was fun to do. We went to East Berlin in the summer and shot it in a abandoned TV studio, right, like an old East German TV studio. And it was pretty interesting vibe. We were trying to do something that had a really different look than anything we'd done before. I mean, to a certain extent, we're stuck being ourselves, but one thing is that we've always done videos that were kind of like personal and a little bit on the fetishy side, and I think we want to do something that's a little bit straighter. And basically, after a dozen videos or so, it's hard to get really excited about how you're going to present an idea when, I directed these 2 videos for Frank Black at the beginning of last year, and that was much more exciting for me than I think I'm ever going to be able to feel about a They Might Be Giants video. And that sounds kind of horrible in a way, because it's like, They Might Be Giants is definitely, a project that I'm into, but it's making videos. You really have to like cook up a lot of different stuff, and you're up against a lot of weird barriers, and I guess like having just done so many of them and collaborated on so many of them with Adam Bernstein in the past, it's hard to really know like what the next direction should be. I think in a way the Snail Shell video is probably slicker than in my personal taste, but I don't know like Well, I mean, I guess when we do our next video, we'll have a chance to like just sort of explore another direction in it, because it'll probably be even less slick than our previous ones.